Could it be? For me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to my 2024 NFL scouting combine coverage, day number 1, defensive line and linebackers. This is an impressive group, man. I got a feeling this year's crop is going to be a lot more athletic than I thought. I've been hearing mixed reviews about this draft class. Not as deep as maybe some of the other draft classes, not as talented, some would say. I would say this one got off to a rousing start with a bang. This is one of the most athletic defensive line and linebacker groups in recent memory. And, you know, we're getting to the point now where we're starting to become jaded. And I just want people to understand that a lot of these times and the movement skills we're seeing from some of these guys are not normal. And we're beginning to normalize some of these things. Like Rich Eisen, when Chop Robinson ran a 4.49, I'm losing my shit over here at the 4.49, and I'm going off. I went crazy when Peyton Wilson ran the Moses Malone 4.44. I'm going nuts over here. But even more impressive was Tavondre Sweat running a 5.27 and a 1.80, right? 10-second split. I'm like, this guy's moving, man. Like, it's not normal what these guys are doing. So I think as you see more of these combines, and let me start by saying what I tell you every year. I'm watching this so you don't have to, okay? Leave the heavy lifting to me if you don't want to. Now, look, some of you are football junkies like myself, and so you take all of this stuff in. But look, if that's not your steez, trust me, I've told you this before. If I didn't have to do this, I probably wouldn't, okay? I probably wouldn't watch, okay? But I can tell you this much. I was actually watching some of these defensive linemen, and I was mad that we don't actually need a defensive tackle. Like Braden Fisk, are you kidding me? I'd love to get my hands on a Braden Fisk. So let's start there. We're going to go through all 3 of the groups. I highlighted the guys that stood out to me. I've got 7 guys from each group. And in certain instances, I've got 8 with an honorable mention or 2. So we'll start with my standouts from each group. There were 3, groups in day number 1. And we started with the defensive line and the big guys up front. And what an impressive group and an athletic group, to say the least. I remember watching the first episode of season 3 of Commander's Log, and Pete Pirelli, or Pete, what was it? Pete Perselli, I think his name was, said that he was at the Senior Bowl and the offensive and defensive lines were impressive, and he saw a bunch of first, second, and third round guys. I watched the combine today. I saw the athleticism. Obviously, the tape is what's ultimately going to tell the story for these players. The combine is what we like to call and refer to as the underwear Olympics. The tape is where it's at. But a lot of times you're just cross-referencing by the time you get to the combine. For someone like myself, who a lot of times does it in reverse, this is my first exposure to some of these guys. And then you get excited, and now you want to watch the tape to see if what you saw at the combine matches with what you saw at the combine. You want to watch the tape to see if it matches what you saw at the combine. Whereas for most people, the way you should do it, not the way I do it, the way you should do it is you already watched the tape and you just want to cross-reference what you saw on tape with what you see in person, or in our case, watching on television at the combine. So anyway, let's go. I'm going to start with my honorable mention from group 1. These were the big guys. And Daniel Jeremiah does a good job of telling us this every year. The top defensive linemen in the NFL, the guys that were getting to the quarterback, the guys that were stopping the run, the best of the best, the creme de la creme. the top 10, the average is 6'3" and 5/8, 299 pounds, running a 4.9 40 and a 1.72 10-second split. So those are some of the numbers that roughly that you're looking for. So my honorable mention was Logan Lee. Logan Lee for me was a guy that big, tall, angular guy, 6'5", 281 out of Iowa, ran a 5.05 40 with a 1.77 10-second split. But you watch him, he's this long, leggy, big striding guy, but he was moving. I liked his movement skills throughout the day. I thought he did a really good job of hanging with some of these guys that are a lot more talented and athletically gifted than him. The change of direction was really good. He looked fluid in a lot of these drills. I thought he helped himself. This is a guy that a lot of people aren't, looking for to do any damage. He's more of a mid to late round guy, I would assume right now. But I liked what I saw, and Iowa has a track record of delivering the goods at the next level. So he was a guy that I thought stood out from an honorable mention standpoint. Now we get to the guys that I thought had really good days at the combine in group number one. We'll start with a lineage bloodline guy, Chris Jenkins Jr., or the second. Obviously, the name should ring a bell. His dad played for the Carolina Panthers on that vaunted defensive line with Peppers, and it was Jenkins, Peppers, and Rucker, and oh man, I'm thinking about that big defensive tackle. I can't think of his name right now. He turned into a defensive line coach as well, but it was a hell of a foursome. He was a part of that group. This is his son, played at Michigan, 6'2" and 3/4, so essentially 6'3", 299. So again, he fits right into that mold that that they highlighted in terms of the top 10. He's 6'3" and 3/4, 299. It's 6'3", 5/8, 299. He ran a 4.91 and 1.7 10-second split, 4.9, 1.72. So again, he checks all the boxes. His movement skills were excellent throughout the day. He looks the part, physical presence, one of a combine record 18 Michigan Wolverines that will be at the combine over the course of the weekend. And he did not disappoint. He looked really, really good. One of my favorites of this group was Byron Murphy II out of Texas. Man, is he impressive. Again, some of these guys had me to the point where I was like, damn, I would love to draft another defensive tackle, but we don't need that. We need so many other things, but damn, you can definitely use a Byron Murphy II. I mean, he was so impressive. 6 feet and a half, 297. He cut weight apparently to be in better shape for the combine, and it showed. But he was already explosive on tape, and I had watched some of him already, so I already knew what we were getting ourselves into. He was ultra impressive. 4.87 40, 1.69 10-second split. So the explosion was definitely there. The movement skills were off the charts the entire day. I don't know how this guy gets out of the first round. I don't see how he's not a first round pick, honestly speaking. And somebody's going to take Byron Murphy II in the first round, and you're going to be damn glad that you did. This guy is super talented and a ridiculous freak athlete. And some of the techniques that he uses, the dropping to the knee and then popping up and exploding to the football, I've never seen anything like it before. I've seen guys drop to a knee to stop a double team and stop a guy from getting to the second level and washing him out of a gap. I've never seen a guy drop to a knee, stifle and stymie the double team, pop up and go make a tackle. That's unnatural. That's not normal. That's what he does. He was fantastic today. So one of the names that they had fun with on the day was Rook Ro. And 6'4", 294 out of Clemson. Now, yes, the name is funny, and there's a lot of jokes, ha, ha, ha. But the performance on the field and the explosion was no laughing matter. This guy is cut and chiseled. Reminded me of Tanino Passanio, the big, tall, chiseled defensive end out of UConn years ago that came into the league and just looked like a physical freak and did well at the combine. He reminds me a lot of him, but his movement skills, rows, are even better than his are. At 6'4", 294, the man ran a 4.89 40 at 294. That you're not, again, don't normalize that in your head. You're not supposed to run that fast at that size. Ran a 1.67 10-second split. That's ridiculous. And you know what? His movement skills, his change of direction were actually really good. And I actually can't wait to watch his tape. This was my first exposure to him. I was told he was going to do this, and then he did it. Now I want to see what the tape says. Tavondre Wingo, or excuse me, Makai Wingo out of LSU, 6 feet, 284, 4.85 40, 1.64 10-second split. He looked good, man. Boy, did he look explosive. There were a couple of explosive guys, Murphy, Wingo, and then the guy that I thought stole the show really for the entire day, who we'll get to here in a second. But Wingo held his own amongst this group. Super explosive. Another one of these undersized defensive tackles, that a guy that you put inside that is going to wreak havoc because of his quickness and explosiveness. At 6 feet, 284, that's not necessarily what you're looking for, but this guy is a problem inside, and his quickness and his explosiveness off the snap is what's going to win the day for him. And he showed that throughout the day. In day one, I thought he was fantastic, and another guy that helped himself stock definitely up. But one of my favorites of the day was Tavondre Sweat out of Texas. The weight was the big topic of conversation for him. He did not weigh in at the Senior Bowl. People were wondering why. And so they were wondering if he was a little bit heavier. And so his listed playing weight was 365. He weighed in at 366 at the combine. So he checked off that box. 6'4 and a half, 366. Boy, can he move. I mean, 5.27 and a 1.80 in terms of the 10-second split. That's fantastic for a guy his size. I think he's the 4th heaviest guy in combine history. Are you kidding me? Really impressed with what I saw from him. And the movement skills were off the charts. I mean, I was blown away. I'm like, man, somebody's going to get this guy. Right now, I think he's a 2nd-round pick, but you need to stop the run if you're the Dallas Cowboys. And I don't know if he fits what they do up front. Now they've got a different defensive coordinator coming in there. Maybe their defensive scheme sort of changes a bit. He didn't fit in the last iteration of Dallas. Maybe this new iteration he fits, but I mean, there's plenty of guys to choose from if you're the Cowboys or a team like Dallas that failed to stop the run at a high clip and need interior defensive line help. There's a lot of guys to choose from. And Tavondre Sweat, he just screams Baltimore Raven to me. Like one of those guys is a space eater, but super athletic. He screams Baltimore Raven for me. Right. Godly, he's going to be really good at the next level, I think. And then lastly, the guy that I thought had the best day of any player at the combine, irregardless of group, position, what may have you, on day number 1 was Braden Fisk. I walked away just blown away by Braden Fisk and all that he brings to the table. They showed me his B-roll, and it matched the explosiveness that I saw throughout the day. I can't wait to watch him on tape. The guy looks like a freak. 6'3 and 5/8. So that hits it right on the nose in terms of the size. 292 pounds, right? Shorter arms. As you can see, you watch him, he doesn't have the length, but it doesn't matter. His explosiveness, he's powerful. I watched him take on double teams. shed them and get to the ball carrier. I watched him blow into the backfield and make tackles. 4.78 40 at 292 pounds with a 1.68 10-second split. He was phenomenal. I mean, the explosiveness in the drills was there. You know, the hula hoop drill where you run the arc, pick up the top. I mean, he killed that. He murdered that. His you know, the bags where you hit the bag, you turn the corner, you want to turn that second bag tight, keep it tight and flat down to the quarterback, right? That was seamless. You know, when they had them changing directions, man, he murdered the combine today. One of the better performances in recent memory of a defensive lineman that I can recollect. Somebody's going to get, this guy's a first-round pick, folks. Braden Fisk is a first-round pick. If Brazil could go in the first round last year to New Orleans, Braden Fisk is a first-round pick. If Brian Brazil goes in the first round last year, Braden Fisk is better than Brian Brazil from a season ago. So look out. This guy, I don't want him in the division. I just know that much. So I hope he doesn't end up finding his way into Dallas or any foolishness like that, because this guy is ridiculously talented. Damn, I was impressed. Blew me the hell away. My favorite performer of the day was Braden Fisk, hands down. We knew Chop Robinson was going to blow up the combine, run fast, all of that stuff. We heard about other guys that were going to run fast, right? Cooper out of Texas A&M. We knew those guys were going to do that. I didn't know Braden Fisk was going to do that. You know, I knew he was going to test well. He blew up the combine, though. Thought Braden Fisk was the best performer of day one, if you ask me. That's group one. Okay, so we move on to group number two. And Daniel Jeremiah started out by telling us the top 10 players in the NFL's average with the edge rusher. So now we're on to the defensive ends, the more traditional defensive end, hand in the dirt, 3 technique, you know, base 4-3 defensive end. But again, the lines are now blurred in the NFL between base 3, you know, 4-3 defensive end and edge rusher. We kind of blend the two together, but you know, there are still traditional 4-3 defensive fronts out there, teams that play even fronts, looking for that 265, 270 pound defensive end that can set a physical edge. We've kind of blended the two now. You can be 255, set a physical edge, stand in a 2-point stance in a, you know, odd front. But, you know, all of that stuff kind of runs together. But these are supposed to be your more traditional hand in the dirt defensive ends, right? So 6'4" and a quarter is the height of the top 10 in the NFL. 258 pounds. So you can see the weight is not what it once was. You know, back in the day, you were looking for the 270 guys, right? 275. That's no longer the case. A 4.62 40, so a 4.62 on the 40 and a 1.6 flat as your 10-second split if you're looking to get to the quarterback and be disruptive. So my honorable mention is Muhammad Kamara out of Colorado State, 6'1" and 3/8. Ran a 4.57, which is ridiculously good. I mean, super athletic. This is another athletic group. The groups just get more and more like, I'm hoping one of these other groups don't let me down. I remember there was one year, I want to say it was like 3 years ago, where the corners were just slow. I think it was the last year Deion Sanders was there before he took the job at, so it was a while ago, probably like 5 years ago, because it was before he took the job at Jackson State. And I think he was at Jackson State for 2 years, and then he went to Colorado. So that would be 3 years ago. So probably 4 years ago, the corners were really slow, right? And Deion was like, golly, this is a slow group of corners. And it was ridiculous, right? I'm hoping we don't get one of those situations this year, because these guys set the table. This day one group, this crop, groups 1, 2, and 3, set the table as an athletic group for the combine. Let's see if the rest of the positions kind of follow suit. So now, Muhammad Kamara, ran a 4.57, which is stupid, right? And a 1.58. So that's a hell of a get off, right? That's explosive. And he showed it throughout the day. And Daniel Jeremiah said he's a rugged edge rusher with skill that can get to the quarterback. I can't wait to watch him because I saw really good change of direction. I saw explosiveness. I saw a guy with a very twitchy first step. So I'm looking forward to seeing what his tape looks like. He was honorable mention for me throughout the day. I want to start with this first guy because I don't know where he's going to go. And by all accounts, he's super raw, and the school that he went to suggests that he's probably super raw. His name is Jalix Hunt. 6'3" and 3/4, 252 pounds, out of Houston Christian. Try that one on for size. 4.64 40, 1.6 flat. So that number that you're looking for as a 10-second split. He's tall. He's a long guy. Pause. And I thought the movement skills were on point the entire day. He was right there with some of the guys we hold in high regard in this draft in terms of movement skills, whether you're talking Chop Robinson, Jarrett Verse, Latu. He was right there with those guys. And I thought he held his own. And I don't know if he's even going to be drafted. I don't know where he's going to be drafted. I'm expecting him to be extremely raw and one of those guys, probably a late round pick. But for a team with no defensive ends, like mine, the team that I root for, I'd say that this is a guy that moves the needle for me, and I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on a guy like this later on in the draft if the skill set suggests it on tape, right? Another tall guy, speaking of tall guys, Miles Cole at 6'6", 278 out of Texas Tech. Man, is he tall, first of all. I mean, he's so tall he looks goofy at times running around. 4.67. Again, at 280 essentially, and 6'6" running a 4.67. That's stupid. Okay, 1.65, 10-second split. So that was the guy that DJ said, I got to go back and watch the tape because his performance today doesn't match what I saw on tape. I would believe that because what I saw is a guy that is very athletic, a guy that can move really well, and maybe, things didn't go well for him at Texas Tech from a numbers perspective and a production standpoint. But he doesn't look that dissimilar from the guy that was at Texas Tech last year that went top 10. So that's why DJ was like, I got to go back and watch this guy just to make sure I'm not missing anything. He was impressive throughout the day. I was impressed. So the next guy is Braylon Trice. So I watched a lot of Braylon Trice this year. For whatever reason, I watched probably more Pac-10 football, or what is it, Pac-12? Now is it Pac-2 with everybody kind of dispersing and going to all these conferences now? But I watched more Pac-12 football this year than probably ever before. And Braylon Trice at 6'3.5", 245 out of Washington, ran a 4.72 and a 1.65. I didn't think he was going to test extremely well. So these numbers are fine. I don't have an issue with these numbers. He's a skill guy, right? Similar to Latu. But I thought he actually moved well, did Braylon Trice. For what I was expecting and what I got, I walked away saying, okay, you checked off the boxes for me. Like, if he would have came in here and ran a 4.85, I would have been disappointed. If he'd have come in here and he would have ran a 4.63, I would have been blown away. I'd have been shocked and surprised. For him to run a 4.72, that's right around what I thought he was going to run. The movement skills looked fine. He looked like he belonged. He's an NFL pass rusher. So now you get to the big boys, the big three, as I call them, in this draft class. And we start with Chop Robinson. 6'3", 254 out of Penn State. So first of all, what did I tell you about Penn State? I said, I've been blown away by Penn State, and I've always give a shout out to their strength and conditioning coach. And I don't know, and they even said it, and it was just funny to hear them talk about it, because I talk about this to you guys all the time. I've been saying this for years, going all the way back to Troy Apke, right? They don't miss at Penn State in terms of athleticism. You can say what you want about production and this, that, and the third, but from an athletic profile standpoint, what they're doing at Penn State is ridiculous. And they talked about it on the telecast. Whoever their strength and conditioning coach is, he needs a raise. If he doesn't already have one, if he's not the highest paid strength and conditioning coach in the nation, he should be. And I think it was Rich Eisen that says he needs a new agent if he's not, because it's ridiculous. Every year they come and they blow the combine up, blow it to smithereens every year. So Chop Robinson, we knew he was going to tear it up, right? We heard about the explosiveness. I've seen it. You've seen it. Ran a 4.48, 1.54, 10-second split. You know, what's disappointing with a lot of these guys is they're not going to do the short shuttle, and they're not going to do the 3-cone. Like, that's the new thing, is I'm not going to expose myself, because those are big numbers for me. And nobody did it except for Jarrett Verse. And it wasn't an impressive 3-cone, but that's not who he is as a rusher anyway. I wanted to know what Latu's 3-cone was. I wanted to know what Chop Robinson's 3-cone was. Nobody did the 3-cone. Okay, that's what everybody does, right? Anyway, I digress. So Chop Robinson blew it up in terms of athleticism. We knew he was going to do that. The movement skills were really good. There were a couple of times where I thought he was a little out of control, a little OC, stumbling around and stuff like that. Trying to move a little bit faster than he needed to showcase his skills. But all in all, we know what this dude is. We know what he's capable of. He's going to be a problem at the next level. And he showcased his talents on day one of the combine with Group 2. And he was one of the standouts of Group number 2, along with Jarrett Verse, who, for me, at 6'4", 254, so another guy in that 254 range, out of Florida State, 4.58 40, 1.6 flat, 10-second split. So he checked off both of the boxes, much like Chop Robinson did in terms of the times that the top 10 edge rushers in the NFL have currently. And then the 3-cone was 7.13. I've always told you that you want that 3-cone to be anywhere from 6, like the elites are in that 6.7 range, 6.7, 6.6 is ridiculous, stupid Von Miller shit, right? But most of the elite guys are 6'7, 6'8, even 6'9. You get into the 7s, I'm okay with 7. I'm okay with 7.1, 7.2, a little iffy. Anything north of 7.27, and I'm a little uncomfortable. He's 7.31, which is why a lot of guys don't do the 3-cone, because that's a very telling number. But he's a power guy. He's not the explosive, first step guy. But he can still do damage. We see how strong he is, how he's picking up men and dump trucking them into the lap of the quarterback. I thought the movement skills looked good. I thought he showed well, and he's going to hear his name called on day one of this draft. No questions asked. And then there was Latu, who was my prime and peak performer of Group 2. To me, he's the most skilled pass rusher of this draft class. When I watch him, his ability to use his hands, he's got that jump. He's got that Aaron Donald jump chop move down to a science, right? And to me, I think it's fun to watch guys who are explosive and dynamic, but to me, the best pass rushers are the ones that know how to use their hands. Nick Bosa ran a 4.79 or something like that, 4.76. Like, they did the simulcast with him, and it was him, Chop Robinson, and it was one more, destructive pass rusher. And I think Robinson obviously smoked everybody. Then it was another guy in between that was like a 4.5 something, and then it was Boza at like 4.7 something. But Boza has, I talked about the Bozas, both Joey and Nick having the best hand usage I've ever seen of college edge rushers coming into the NFL. They were black belt certified as hand usage guys coming out of Ohio State. And Latu is the same way. You know, his hand usage, second to none in this draft. He's got that Aaron Donald jump, chop down to a science. And then his ability to bend that corner, to dip and bend, second to none again in this draft. Maybe Chop Robinson's ability to bend the corner is also elite. But to flatten to the quarterback, Latu, he killed it today. That hula hoop that hula hoop with the towel, why am I blanking? Drill. And then the one that sealed it for me was the bag drill where you hit the bag, you turn the corner, hit the second bag, and then you flatten, right? You get as low as you can, flatten, come as tight as you can to that second bag. He was like this far from the ground when he turned the corner both times. Almost to the point where you're like, bro, it almost looked like he was stumbling, but he wasn't stumbling. He can get that low. Low. He's going to be a problem. He's going to be a problem. He can beat you around the edge. He can beat you inside. He ran a 4.64 and had a 1.62 10-second split. So those numbers are right where you need to be in terms of that top 10. I thought he had the most impressive day of any of the guys in Group 2. He looks the part, and everything that I was looking for from him, like, is that bend, is that ability to turn the corner, is that real? He said, "You damn right it is," and he showed it to me over and over and over again. Just to give you a point, Chop Robinson tried to do the same thing on that 2-bag drill, where you slap the bag the first time, come around the corner, slap the bag. He slips and falls. Okay, he didn't keep his feet. Not to say that he can't, because we watched him do it, but Latu didn't. Right? I thought he showed off. He's going to be a really good edge rusher. Boy, I would love to get my hands on a guy like him. Obviously, he's going to be long gone by the time we're selecting with our second pick in this draft, because he's a first-round pick. He's a top half of the first round type of pick. Is Latu. So he was my peak performer in group number 2. And so we get to our final group of day number 1, and it was the linebackers. And this is supposed to be a weak crop of linebackers, off-the-ball linebackers in particular. If you need linebacker help, this isn't necessarily the draft. This is what we're told that you want to be in, right? But the tape may say something else. I'm just telling you, from an athletic profile standpoint, these guys check the damn box. I don't know what the tape says, but I highlighted a lot of guys, more so than groups 1 and 2, right? In this group 3 now, we knew about Cooper. I was told about Trevin Wallace out of Kentucky. I like a lot. We'll get to him. I knew about Peyton Wilson because Notre Dame played NC State in like the 3rd game of the season or something like that this year. And there was a catch by one of our receivers, and he should have scored a touchdown. And he's running down the sidelines, and out of nowhere, this white guy comes and hawks him down. And I was cussing our guy out, like, bro, what the F, bro? You let this white dude come catch you from behind? The hell is wrong with you? And today I found out why that white dude caught him from behind. Because that white dude can fly. That's why he caught him from behind. So it all makes sense now, right? So we'll get to Peyton Wilson. Dallas Turner was supposed to be the star of this show. We'll talk about him. There were some other guys. Let's get to some of the other guys, right? Let's get to the honorable mentions from this group. So let's stick with that theme of Penn State, and shout out to their strength and conditioning coach once again. He did it again. Curtis Jacobs, linebacker from Penn State, 6'1" and 3/8, 241 pounds, ran a 4.58. What else did you expect, man? And the movement skills look great. Again, I don't know what the tape looks like with him. Only one way to find out. I'll be watching plenty of Penn State tape, as there are a number of defenders coming out of Penn State this year. So I'll run into Curtis Jacobs and see what he's all about. But, buddy, another athlete out of Penn State. The movement skills look good. And I don't know what else to say about Penn State and what they're producing out there. They just figure it out. They know how to get it done. Another honorable mention, Jordan McGee out of Temple. 6'1" and 3/8, ran a 4.55 at 228 pounds. So he's a little undersized, but this was a guy DJ said, look, I'm banging the table for this dude. I tried to get support from scouts around the league and teams, and nobody was backing me on him. But I'm keeping my evaluation because I loved what I saw on tape. So I actually want to see what DJ saw. So I want to watch some Jordan McGee because his movement skills, he had some of the best movement skills of this group throughout the course of the day. The consistency was there, the change of direction. There wasn't a lot of wasted movement. He looked good to me. Caught the ball a little bit. So Jordan McGee for me is an honorable mention. Then you get to the guys that I thought really showed well today. And we're going to start with Kalen DeLoach out of Florida State. He probably was the biggest surprise of this particular group for me. I wasn't expecting much from him. 5'11" and a half, 210 pounds. That size alone scares me but we're in a new day and age in the NFL, a lot of positionless football, especially when we start talking about linebackers back to the secondary. It's all starting to blend together, excluding corner. You can't be a linebacker playing corner, but you can be a linebacker playing safety or a safety playing linebacker. We saw the Cowboys convert a safety that was 205 pounds to linebacker, and he played really well. And Marquise Bell, now again, that showed up in the Green Bay game and a few games like San Francisco earlier in the season where they got run over. When you have those undersized, players, you're going to pay for it eventually. But 210 pounds, little worrisome. But boy, did he move like a 210 pounder out there. If you're going to be 210 pounds, you damn well better be athletic. And he was athletic for sure. Ran a 4.47. Did Kalen DeLoach, and I would say his movement skills were on par with that of Edrin Cooper, who was as smooth. I'm talking about as smooth as your favorite red wine. All right. He was nice. Okay. And Kalen DeLoach was right there nipping at his heels. So he caught my attention in day number 1 with group number 3. Another guy that caught my attention is Cedric Gray. So apparently he's a tackling machine. And they weren't expecting him to run super fast. And this is the part that sucks about the linebacker position, is because every other position is getting faster. So we're just expecting linebackers to be like ridiculously fast. And 4.64 isn't slow. That's fast for a linebacker. But because of how we reprogrammed and rewired our brains to think, we see 4.6, oh, he's not fast. Bullshit. 4.6 is plenty fast in the NFL at linebacker. Are you kidding me? And at 6'1 and a half, 234, for him to be a downhill thumper type, I thought he showed well. Thought he showed well throughout the day. And I'm anxious to see what he's all about, because there's a place in the league. It's funny because guys like him kind of get pushed aside because, the flashy guys that run the 4.4 are all that people want to talk about. But when you look at the best linebackers in the NFL, they don't run 4.4s. Most of them run 4.6. Okay? Fred Warner didn't run a 4.4 anything. He didn't run a 4.5 anything. He ran a 4.6 at the combine. And you go look at all the rest of the linebackers, most of those guys that are playing at a very high level, they play much faster than their 40 times because they anticipate, they see it, and they shoot their gun. And apparently Cedric Gray is one of those guys. I like what I saw today. I just need the tape to match up. Again, we'll see what happens, but I thought he had a really solid day. Then you get to this core group of guys. Trevin Wallace out of Kentucky was a guy that I heard about. That was supposed to be a downhill thumper. Wasn't supposed to be super fast, but man, is he instinctive, and he comes downhill and he'll hit you. And so when you hear that, okay, so you're telling me without telling me he's a 4.7 guy. Okay, I mean, if that's what it is, that's what it is. So people told me if he runs fast, he could run his way into the second round. We'll see. I'm hoping that 2 or 3 of these dudes find their way into the third round, because that's when I'm ready to draft the linebacker. I can't touch one in the first round. I can't touch one in the second round, but boy, I'm ready to pounce in the third round, and I got 2 picks. I'd love to get my hands on one of these dudes in the third round. I just hope that they last long enough for us to get our hands on one. And usually the linebacker position is one of those positions where they do last, and you are able to get one of them because there are more pressing needs. Everybody's looking for a corner. Everybody's looking for a tackle. Everybody's looking for, a defensive lineman or an edge rusher. Everybody's looking for a defensive tackle. Everybody's looking for the tight end. Everybody's looking for the receiver. So linebackers tend to get pushed back. I'm hoping that happens this year because there are a couple of guys that I'm eyeballing. I'm like, hey, man, I wouldn't mind adding them to the mix. And Trevin Wallace is one of those guys. 6'1 and 1/8. 237 pounds, out of Kentucky, ran a 4.52, and they showed his B-roll, and he was firing, and he was hitting dudes coming downhill, being physical, and then at the combine, he runs this 4.52, which is an impressive speed for him, and then he also had tremendous movement skills throughout the day, and I hold on a second. One of my kids' toys is just going nuts right now. Hold on a second. God, I hate that toy. All right. He blew it up. I thought Trevin Wallace was really impressive, and I'm just hoping that he didn't impress so much so that he finds his way into the second round. I'd love to have my choice of Peyton Wilson, Trevin Wallace, and I know a guy like Kalen DeLoach, if the tape is right, would be someone that would interest a Dan Quinn, because remember, Quinn made it abundantly clear that he wants his linebackers to be able to pressure the quarterback. And there are a number of guys on this list that can get after the quarterback. So that's something else to look out for with some of these players that you got to keep in mind. When you look at the sack numbers, look at their ability to blitz. Now, it's not just about coverage and this, that, and the third, because he'll take a guy that's a safety and bring him down in the box and have him cover, right? Like Marquise Bell did. What he's more so looking for is, can you get to the quarterback? If I put together a blitz package, can you get to the quarterback? Some of these guys can get to the quarterback. So, Trevin Wallace, boy, he looks good. I'm not even going to hold you. He looks really good. So then we get to some of the big names. Edgerrin Cooper, who is probably going to be the first pure linebacker taken in this draft class, did what he was supposed to do. Okay. 6'2 and 1/8, 230 pounds, out of Texas A&M, ran a 4.52. He was probably a little disappointed. He probably wanted to run a sub 4.5, right? because you see guys like Dallas Turner and Peyton Wilson lighting it up, and you wanted to light it up too. And he came close, but he's plenty fast at 4.52. Trust me when I tell you, he's plenty fast. And boy, did he look like he was moving fast. And the movement skills were off the charts. He's going to be a player in this league. And somebody's going to take him in the first round. I don't see him getting out of the first round. My wife was talking to me about day one, and she said, are those guys even going in the first round? I'm like, there was probably about 7 dudes out of day one that's going in the first round. Like, you know how I see y'all jokes, man. Y'all are hilarious. Yeah, the toy was fighting back. There's a lot of toys in there, and they band together. They turned into Toy Story on my ass, and I had to fight. All right, there was a lot of toys. They were trying to protect me from getting to that particular toy, but I made it to them. But it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. That's for damn sure. Anyway, y'all made me lose my train of thought. Edgerrin Cooper was really good today. And I think he's one of about 7 guys that I feel like are going to hear their names called in day one of the NFL draft. And, you know, I joke around every year because there's 52 first-round picks, according to some. Like, oh, this guy is going to be a first-round pick. This, you know, and there's people like, you like, come on, bro. He's not going to be in the first round. Everybody can't be a first-round pick. I think they're going to be about 7 guys from day one. You know, a couple of, you know, a few of those defensive tackles, at least 3 guys off of this list, Edgerrin Cooper, Dallas Turner, I think are locks to be in the first round in particular. I don't think anybody else on this list is a first round pick from group 3 per se, but I could see some guys being day 2 guys, early day 2 guys at that off this list. So Edgerrin Cooper, I thought he checked all the boxes, did what he was supposed to do, and solidified himself as the first off-the-ball linebacker coming out of this draft class that'll come off the board. And then Dallas Turner, he's the elite premier edge rusher in this year's draft class. And he looked like it. He proved it. 6'2 3/4, 247, ran a 4.47 and had a 40.5-inch vert. Yikes. He was moving, man. The real question for me with him, and I'm going to have to watch the tape closely, is does he actually have a move Rolodex? He just seems like one of these twitchy dudes that just wins with speed, doesn't actually use his hands effectively, doesn't actually use a spin or crossover, you know, doesn't set guys up. I'm just going to beat you with pure athleticism and see can you deal with it. I need to see what he's all about first before I crown him, because there are skilled pass rushers in this year's draft class that I'm not saying are going to be better than him, but I am saying they come equipped, ready to deal with professional NFL tackles at the highest level because of their ability to use skill, which I think is an underrated trait from pass rushers. I think we get too enamored with the physical traits instead of looking at, do you actually know how to beat a tackle that's set up in front of you? Do you actually have the skills, not the physical gifts, but the skills necessary to win? I want to see if Dallas Turner has it, because he's got all the athleticism one can ask for. The 4.47 blew me away. I knew he was fast. I thought he was going to run fast. I did not think he was going to run that fast. When they told me he ran or jumped a 40-inch vert, I said, oh, that changes things. Now I'm thinking maybe he's going to run sub 4.5, and he did. But the guy that stole the show in group 3 was Peyton Wilson. I would say that he had the second biggest day. And if you ask me the 2 biggest risers after day 1, the guys that helped themselves the most, I would tell you that it's Peyton Wilson in group 3, and it's the Florida State defensive tackle, Braden Fisk, are your two biggest risers after day number 1 of the combine. Peyton Wilson, 6'4", so he's a big dude, long limbs, 233 pounds, out of NC State, ran a Moses Malone 4.44 40. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's the fastest 40 of anybody for the day. Let me fact check that real quick just to make sure. I'm pretty sure because that was the fastest group of the day, because it was the linebackers that should have been the fastest group, and it was, even though this group of edge rushers were pretty damn fast. Yeah, that's the fastest time of the day. So that stood out, obviously. And then he ran again, which normally when you post a time like that, there's no need for me to run again. But he ran again. He ran a 4.49 the second time, so we know he's fast. Has ball skills. The movement skills were off the charts. Such an easy, fluid mover. All the drills, he looked so comfortable out there. Reminds me so much of one of those Logan Wilson, Leighton Vander Esch type guys that are just so comfortable in space. One of those Matt Milano type guys where you just go, man, he's an athlete and he knows how to use his athleticism to be a problem, not just as a tackler, but a guy that can attack the football as well. And so, guys, it's not a coincidence when guys like Matt Milano or Logan Wilson or Sean Lee, a little bit further back in the day, would always end up in the right place and get their hands on the football. Those guys just have a knack and know how to use their athleticism, and he's another one of those guys. Now, with him and Latu, they've got some, physical issues, neck issues that you have to check out medically. And I'm hoping Peyton Wilson's neck shows up as a red flag for some teams, and they take him off their board, or they push him down their board, and he's sitting there for Washington in the 3rd round. That's my hope. But after the performance he turned in today, coupled with the tape, I'm assuming he's probably going to end up being a 2nd round pick. That's my guess. I'm hoping I'm wrong, and what he did today changes nothing, and he's still a 3rd round pick. I don't see him going any further back than the 3rd round. I just hope he's there in the 3rd round for my Commanders to take. He's exactly the kind of linebacker that I think they could use. And I'm also looking at Trevin Wallace. We need a signal caller. We need a smart, instinctive middle linebacker, even though I don't even know what we're going to do defensively. So I can't even say. Like, we only deployed 2 linebackers most of last year. Most teams are only deploying 2 linebackers for the most part. So I don't know what our scheme is going to be. I don't even think our coaching staff knows what our scheme is going to be yet. So hard for me to say. I just know we need linebackers like Trevin Wallace, like Peyton Wilson, and I'm hoping those guys are there in the 3rd round. That's my hope. He was one of the stars of day 1, along with Braden Fisk. So that is my day 1 combine recap. I thought that that group was extremely athletic, showcased some talent out there. Really excited about the start to the combine. Really got me excited about watching some of these prospects on film. And I'm looking forward to day number 2, which will feature, if I'm not mistaken, corners and safeties. Let me look it up. Let me see what exactly day number 2 entails. See. Day 2 is going to be, here we go. Day 2 is DBs and tight ends. Okay. Kind of a weird combination there, but DBs and tight ends, day 2. So we'll see what that looks like, the kind of speed. This is supposed to be a relatively deep corner draft class, not so much on the safety side. This is supposed to be a pretty bad safety draft class. Good thing for us is we don't really need any safeties. So we'll see what the corners look like, because we could use a nickel in the worst way, and there's supposed to be plenty of nickels galore this year, and we need a tight end. But we could get one in free agency. We could get one in the draft. We'll see. Looking forward to day number 2 for sure. So, video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Video channel. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, I pray, I hope, and am ready to make a sacrifice for Adonai Mitchell at 36, the Texas wide receiver who transferred over from Georgia. That dude can jump out of the gym. I expect him to run extremely fast with that explosiveness. There was a catch he made in the semifinal game against Washington for a touchdown where he jumped way too soon. And he jumped so high, and he was still on the way up, even though he jumped way too early, and he snagged the ball, and the defender jumped at the same time he did, and it was almost on some Michael Jordan type shit, where Jordan would jump in the air, he'd still be going up, and the defender would be coming back down, and he'd still be elevating. That's kind of like the hops that Adonai Mitchell has. It's ridiculous. I think he'll be there in the second round. I just don't see Washington being in a position to take a wide receiver in the second round. That's going to be the issue. Is not that we won't need one, because I don't think we're going to re-sign Curtis Samuel. We're going to talk about that here in about 20 minutes from now, when we start talking about free agency. But I don't know if they'll be in a position to take a wide receiver that early in the draft. I fully expect them to take a wide receiver at some point in the 2024 NFL draft, however. I just don't see it being in the second round, however. But I'll tell you what, man, it'd be nice to add a guy like that, but I just don't see it happening. The Real Benjamin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. The Real Benjamin writes, give me a starting wide receiver over 6 feet. We need that bad. Yeah, we do. And it'd be nice to find a combination. Adonai Mitchell, as video channel alluded to, is 6'2", can jump. That's the kind of guy you're looking for. That you can throw a jump ball to. We don't have those guys, right? We haven't had one of those guys. The last guy that had that kind of ability at that size was Josh Doctson. Obviously, that didn't work out for us, but it didn't mean he wasn't capable. We saw him go up and get the football. We always think about the time that he didn't, though, against Kansas City, where he didn't hold on to it. But we know Josh Doctson could get up, and that's the last time we truly had a receiver with size that could attack the football in flight. And so it'd be nice to get one of those type of receivers, right? Anybody with size would be nice that can run, but we'll see what they decide to do when it's all said and done. I see video channel saying Johnny Wilson, he's going to end up being a tight end. He's going to, I don't know if he knows it already or not, but he's going to convert to tight end at the next level. Anyway, I digress. So that's day number 1 of the combine. Very athletic group of defensive linemen and edge rushers and backers. I think they set the tone. I'm hoping they set the tone from an athletic profile standpoint for the rest of the combine. If they, in fact, did do that, that's a good omen for the rest of this draft in terms of athleticism, because this was a pretty athletic group, and I thought they showcased that on the field. And the thing I love about this particular group is there's really no wiggle room for you to not come out here and perform. Right? If you're an edge rusher, this is your platform to show why you should be a top 10, a top 15 pick. You're not going to pass that opportunity up. Most guys don't. They're going to come out here and they're going to blow this shit up. This is how you make a name for yourself. If you're Myles Garrett, this is how you become the number 1 overall pick in the draft, right? You take this opportunity and you don't let it pass you by. And so I love that. The receivers and quarterbacks, they've all been instructed not to perform at the combine, and you don't need to do it here. You can do it at your pro day. I love the defensive guys because a lot of times they come out and they compete at every single position. It's the offensive guys that are told not to. Like we won't see Brock Bowers, and I know he's coming off of an injury and this, that, and the third. he's probably ready to go out there. He's just going to wait, right? So I don't know what we'll see at the tight end position, but I'm anxious because we need one. So I'm anxious to see what that looks like. We're going to see the nickels tomorrow. I'm a Mikey Sandwich drill guy. He's not going to be there. You know, if you want him, we're going to have to take him one of our seconds. I just don't know if we're in a position to do that. You know, free agency will tell the story. Free agency will tell the story because and we're going to talk free agency here in a second as we transition to the command post here shortly. And if they do some of the things that I'm advocating for in free agency, it'll free us up to be a little bit more aggressive at other positions in the draft. And we'll see what they decide to do. It's free agency is going to tell the story for me as to what we do and what position we are in come draft time. Look, we're at a position, and let me just make this abundantly clear, and I think I'm going to end up repeating myself on the command post, but let me make myself abundantly clear. We're in a position where we need to be taking the best player available. We shouldn't pigeonhole ourselves into thinking we need a tackle and we need an edge rusher. Let's get those. Like, if those are available and the value meets the pick, knock yourself out because we need those positions as of right now. Obviously, there's still free agency ahead of us to help us knock down some of those needs potentially. But if you get to those picks and all the edge rushers have been plucked and you don't feel good about taking one, you know, in the second round, at that portion of the second round, if all the good tackles are gone, in which most of them probably will be, but there'll be one or two still available that you feel good about. But if you get there and the value is at tight end or receiver or nickel or linebacker even, do that. Like, let's not we're not a player or two away from winning anything. We need the most talent that we can get at every position. So I hope and I trust that that's what the staff is going to do. So the real Benjamin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, give me Edgerrin Cooper, whatever you do. It would be nice. He's going in the first round, though. I'm just telling you right now, Ben. He's going in the first round, bro. He's too rich for our blood. You want him, you'd have to package up some picks and come back up and get him. And as much as I would love to get my hands on a guy like that, he nice, he ain't that nice. Okay. We got other things that we have to concern ourselves with. But if he's sitting there at the top of the second round, you damn right I'd pull the trigger on him. I wouldn't even think twice. No hesitation. Christopher McLaughlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, hey, Lou, hope all is well with the family. Likewise, greatly appreciate you as always. Chris, who writes, one general NFL question. Who are your top three greatest players of all time? Brady, Rice, and someone else, and why? So I'm biased. Brady is the greatest quarterback I've ever seen. You know, I've fought against that for a very long time because I've watched guys with better athletic profiles like Elway, like Aaron Rodgers, but nobody's done it like Brady. So it's Brady at quarterback. Rice clearly at receiver. Still holds just about every statistical record known to mankind on the offensive side of the football. And then, gosh, there's so many to choose from for that third guy. So you've given love to the offensive side, so you probably need to start thinking about defense. Lawrence Taylor is in that conversation. Aaron Donald is in that conversation. There's some really good ones that you think of over the years. I'm biased because even though I said all of that, and it probably should be Lawrence Taylor, I probably would go with Barry Sanders because I still think that Barry Sanders was so dynamic and he did what he did in only playing 9 seasons. Just imagine what he would have done if he would have just played 2 or 3 more seasons, and he could have easily played that many seasons. It took Emmitt Smith like 15 years to break Walter Payton's record, and Barry would have broken it had he played 1 more season. Imagine if he would have played 3 more. Emmitt would have never sniffed Barry Sanders. And Emmitt ran behind the Great Wall of China. And Barry Sanders was running backwards 20 yards to gain 3. And a lot of people dismiss the Lions offensive line like it was mincemeat and trash, and it wasn't. But it wasn't Dallas's offensive line. That's for damn sure. It probably should be LT, but I'm biased. I'm going with Barry Sanders. The Real Benjamin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. The Real Benjamin writes, we don't need a defensive tackle, but Braden Fisk is a dog. Boy, is he ever. I literally fell in love with Braden Fisk, his game and his athleticism and explosion today. And I'm just like, and I think Charles Davis said he fell in love with him at the Senior Bowl. I fell in love with him today, and I'm like, damn, I wish we needed one of those. This is the year where we should have been picking 17th and already had quarterback knocked down. Like Sam should have panned out last year. We should have just missed the playoffs at 9-8. And we should be picking 18th, and we should be right in that damn Braden Fisk neighborhood. That's where we should be right now. Right in that Latu range, right? Right there where we could get one of these dudes, even though Latu probably is going to be gone by then. But that's where this is the year for us to be mediocre right in the middle. And instead, we suck ass. We need a quarterback, and all of that. All these guys are off the grid for us. Sucks, but that's the nature of the business, right? Burger the Butcher, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, right, just making gate, I get my member shout out. Hey, so glad that you're a member of the MOBB. Really, truly do appreciate you. And look forward to chopping it up with you as always, man. Felt like you've been a member. I could be wrong about that, but glad to have you on board as always. And always love the name. Even though I was butchering it for a very long time, we got that settled about, let's say, 8 to 10 months ago. And now love the name, Burger the Butcher. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on day 1 of the 2024 NFL Scouting Combine recap coverage. We'll be back tomorrow, roughly the same time. I think the Combine ran a little bit longer today. It was supposed to be over at 8. It didn't really officially end until like 8:20, which is what accounted for my tardiness, which doesn't matter. I'm always late anyway. So you guys are, I read your jokes. Okay. I heard your jokes. Okay. But I actually had a reason for being tardy today. They were tardy, so it made me tardy. But we'll be back tomorrow. I think the Combine is over at 9 tomorrow night, and then 9 again on Saturday night. And then it wraps up relatively early on Sunday, like at 5, I believe. So that's the schedule. We'll be live after every day except Sunday, maybe. I might just post a video on Sunday and go on about my business. Depends on how that day goes. It's the offensive line, so I'll probably just post a video and get out of there on Sunday. But we'll be live the next 2 nights, Friday night and Saturday night as well. So looking forward to continuing the Combine coverage. Hopefully you'll be able to ride it out with me, and you'll be there with me every step of the way. But in any event, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Hopefully you'll slide on over to the command post and join me for that as we talk Washington Commanders free agency, as I get you ready for free agency that is vastly approaching. Tomorrow is March. The calendar turns to the 3rd month of the year, and that means we're getting to the start of the new league year here shortly. So going to get you ready for the Commanders, talk about their free agents, talk about free agents that will potentially be out there. We got a lot of news from the combine surrounding free agents and what teams are thinking about and doing and not doing in terms of the franchise tag. So we got a clearer picture of who will and won't be available. Now we can go shopping. Got a ton of money to spend. We're not going to spend it the way you probably think, but that shouldn't stop you from dreaming away. All right. Anyway, I'll see you guys here in the next 5 minutes. Hopefully you'll slide over and join me on the command post. But for the rest of you who I don't see on the command post, hopefully I'll see you tomorrow night for day 2. Corners, safeties, tight ends. Till then, you guys have a good one. Take care.